So one of the main reasons for the Xbox acquisition of Activision Blizzard from the very beginning, at least from the mouths of Phil Spencer and Xbox, have been to get further into the mobile space. Try to go out there and challenge Apple and Google and potentially make a mobile store where people will have that choice now, a third option to download and play games, not just from Apple Store, not just from Google's Play Store, but now from an Xbox mobile store. And this is something that Xbox has said continuously, but it's been in question because of pushback from PlayStation and from regulatory bodies, specifically looking at games like Call of Duty and the potential of being able to keep these games off of other consoles like the PlayStation 5, which would end up hurting the PlayStation platform. The argument that PlayStation has been putting forward is that if they did this, it would literally be so detrimental to PlayStation that they would maybe have to be foreclosed. It would partially foreclose them or potentially fully foreclose them. We also have heard Jim Ryan in an email that was shown saying that he knew this entire deal was not about exclusivity. And we've also heard Lulu Chang-Mezerve say that Jim Ryan literally said they just wanted to block the deal. So there is a lot going on here, but we do have some more information when it comes to the reasoning of why Xbox is wanting to buy Activision Blizzard. And it really does have to do with mobile, as Activision Blizzard wasn't the first mobile company that they were looking into. Phil Spencer confirmed that Microsoft tried to buy Zynga before Take-Two Interactive purchased them. And this says here, Take-Two Interactive announced plans to acquire Zynga in 2022, but Xbox's Phil Spencer has revealed Microsoft seriously considered buying the mobile game giant prior to that. It says during the cross-examination at today's Microsoft FTC trial, so this was back on Friday, when all of this happened, when Phil Spencer took the stand, he, I think, did a great job. So much so that at the end, the judge came in and shut down the FTC because they were continuously trying to force Phil Spencer to agree under oath about the deal with Call of Duty and getting games onto PlayStation. A lot of people were looking at this as basically, this trial is PlayStation versus Xbox, and it seems like the FTC is arguing to protect PlayStation when their job is to protect the gamers and the consumers. Now, Phil Spencer talks specifically about mobile gaming, talking about the struggles to get into the mobile games business, saying Xbox has no strategy to win organically in mobile gaming. So they're not out here right now thinking that they're going to go out there and make mobile games to try to beat the other mobile developers out there, which honestly, I'm completely happy if Xbox doesn't put any resources from their current first-party studios into creating mobile games. As someone who doesn't really play any mobile games whatsoever, I'm okay with that. It's a smart business strategy to get into mobile, but this is why these acquisitions are taking place, so they can take the current IPs like a Call of Duty Mobile, like a Diablo Immortal, and then make the money from the mobile space on there, and then be able to expand out the Xbox mobile gaming section. And this isn't just Xbox doing this. I mean, PlayStation has tried to expand out into mobile as well, and Nintendo has expanded out into mobile. All of these major game publishers, all these major game companies know that mobile is where most of the money is made because it is the easiest access, and it's where most amount of people who play games are, whether you want to consider them hardcore gamers, real gamers, or just the casual gamers, which a lot of them are. Like, anybody can play mobile games because they have a cell phone, and a lot of them don't go home and sit down at the console and play games. It's just the ease of access because of smartphones that are out there now. So it says here, Spencer revealed that Microsoft tried to acquire Zynga to solve the problem, but the developer was acquired by Take-Two for $12.7 billion, a massive acquisition by Take-Two, as they as well can see that mobile is something that they need to expand out into. Now, specifically, Phil Spencer says this when it comes to the mobile side of stuff, that admitted Microsoft spent quite a bit of time working on the potential Zynga acquisition, but it turned out Microsoft wanted something even bigger to get started in the mobile business, saying we needed to have something that was even bigger than what was Zynga, was given our very small starting space in the mobile gaming business. He says, I have a lot of respect for the people at Zynga and what they've built. In the end, for our opportunity, we thought we needed to have something that was even bigger than what Zynga was, given our very small starting space in the mobile gaming business. Is basically saying, looked at Zynga, thought that this is a great start, but hey, Activision Blizzard has great mobile games that make a ton of money, and that is far bigger. And then you also have King in there with like Candy Crush. So they went for that $70 billion acquisition over the $12.7 billion acquisition. And here is another quote here. It says, I spent time with Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft, to look at the mobile opportunities that were in the market. And Activision was the biggest publisher of mobile content. And it's a partner we know well, given a long history of working together. So we both had comfort with the studios and the teams. But the most important was their portfolio and engagement they had on mobile. So they were specifically going out there and trying to target the publisher that was the biggest in mobile gaming, to literally just have an instant huge start and an instant foothold in the mobile space, where they can take all of the revenues that are being made from games like Candy Crush and Call of Duty Mobile and Diablo Immortal and whatever else is out there within their portfolio, and then go ahead and try to compete with Apple and Google. And one of the things, although for somebody like me, and for a lot of people probably watching this video, one of the most exciting things about Activision Blizzard is all the games that will be coming into Xbox Game Pass Day 1, just greatly expanding out that service. But also, I think it's very good if there is another challenger in the ring against Apple and Google when it comes to the mobile gaming space. I mean, we've seen the court cases with things like Fortnite. We've already seen Apple try to shut down Game Pass as a singular app on the service. And if those things can start getting broken down, I think that overall will be a good thing. Now, there was also this, again, this goes back to the questioning of Call of Duty coming on to the PlayStation platform. Xbox, Phil Spencer literally says, I will do whatever it takes to keep Call of Duty on the platform. And they continuously were just pressuring Phil to agree to bring Call of Duty. And they've been saying this from the very beginning of this acquisition, that they were going to do that. So it didn't really matter. It says here, during the 2-day trial, Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley pointedly reminded Spencer that he was under oath and asked him if Microsoft would indeed continue to ship Call of Duty on PlayStation. And here is what Phil says. Says, I would raise my hand. I would do whatever it takes. We have no plan. I'm making a commitment standing here that we will not pull Call of Duty. It's my testimony from PlayStation. As you said, Sony obviously has to allow us to ship the game on their platform. But absent any of that, my commitment is, and my testimony is, that we will continue to ship future versions of Call of Duty on Sony's PlayStation 5. And one of the things we did also see when it comes to Call of Duty was that PlayStation was threatening to hold back information about the PlayStation 6 if this deal does go through, which doesn't make any sense, because that would just end up hurting Call of Duty on the PlayStation platform and potentially give a worse version if they're holding back information about that platform, about the console, and then at the last minute they're going to have to release the game on the PlayStation 6. So that doesn't really make sense, but that was one of the things that we did see that did come out during this trial. And it says here, this is the line Spencer's previous statements of Call of Duty's exclusivity, saying last year that Call of Duty will continue to ship to PlayStation as long as there is a PlayStation to ship to. And an email revealed in court that PlayStation boss Jim Ryan wrote that, I'm pretty sure we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for many years to come. And this had to do with him essentially knowing and admitting that he knew this deal was not about exclusivity. So that narrative just got completely destroyed. And now finally we have this year, and it is Lulu Cheng Meservey telling employees that the FTC claims are factually weak and legally a stretch. And we know Lulu Meservey as the person who is outspoken on Twitter, says a lot of things, and was the one that first outed Jim Ryan by saying he didn't care about making a deal. He just wanted to do whatever he could to try and block this deal, and it wasn't about exclusivity at all. And here is some of the things that Lulu Meservey says. It's pretty long, so I'll read through some of the quotes here. It says, like we've always said, the facts are on our side, and the FTC's claims are factually weak and legally a stretch. And continues on here and says that the FTC doesn't seem to really understand our industry. For example, they're stuck on this idea that we would cut off Call of Duty from the leading console or make an intentionally worse version. Even Jim Ryan of Sony said he was pretty sure our games would remain on PlayStation. And this quote here is extremely on point when she says the FTC doesn't really seem to understand our industry or I guess really acquisitions whatsoever, because there was a pretty interesting thing here that did occur during this case, and it was Phil Spencer having to explain to the FTC on how acquisitions worked, which right there proves they really have no understanding about how any of this works. which is why it seems like when you're listening to this case, this isn't just people trying to be on one side or the other. If you're just sitting there from a non-biased perspective, listening to some of the questioning that the FTC is posing and the answers they're receiving, and just kind of that they don't understand the gaming industry, and they really sound like they're just kind of arguing for one platform over another. They didn't even understand really how acquisitions work, as the FTC says, now you have a $70 billion upfront payment that you're making for Activision, right? And Phil Spencer had to explain to them how acquisition works. And he says, no, when you acquire something, it's not a payment. It's like when you buy a house, you're buying an asset that has value. So it's really a transfer of cash into an asset called Activision that you believe retains the value that you acquired. So to try and characterize the $70 billion as somehow spent is incorrect. Financially, it's really moving $70 billion in cash into an asset, which is a game publisher that to us is actually worth more than $70 billion. So it is not spent. So really kind of bringing the FTC to school to explain how these things do work in terms of when you're making an acquisition as big as Activision Blizzard. So there it is. I mean, there's just some more stuff that did happen over the first 2 days of this FTC versus Xbox and Activision trial. It does resume back on Tuesday, so 27th, 28th, and 29th, and I'm sure there will be a lot more information coming out on that. I will definitely keep you guys covered as to all of the important things that will be coming out of this case. And then once it's over, we will have that decision, really pretty much whether this deal is going to go through or not, whether a preliminary injunction is going to be granted or if it isn't going to be. So that's going to be huge, because from what we are hearing is that if it is granted, there is a chance Microsoft may walk away from it because it'll be way too long, way too many resources to continue to fight it versus the FTC. But as of right now, it doesn't look like the facts are on the side of the FTC. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.